Good morning. Welcome. I am so excited for this live. And I am so excited because this is a very special guest. And without any ado, I'm going to bring her on so she can announce or introduce herself because she's so special. I would love to have her to explain all of the beautiful attributes she has for herself. Lacey, would you like to explain some of the beautiful background you have for yourself? Go into some
Yes, thank you
detail.
so much, Christina, for
Yes.
inviting me on. Oh,
Are you there?
sorry, our connection isn't awesome, so I didn't mean to interrupt
Yeah, no,
you.
I understand.
But yeah, I'd love to.
Yes, it is kind of silly. I don't know what's going on, but are you there? Are you able to? I don't know what.
It's a bit choppy. I'm not
I
hearing
know.
much of
I'm
what you're
not
saying.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure why it got choppy all of a sudden.
Yeah.
See if that helps. Get out of.
Okay, I can hear you better now. So I don't know if
Okay.
that's it
Yeah, I
keeps
don't know
going in
what
and out.
happened, but I tried to get
So
out of
you
some
can hear
other.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's showing my internet is g- good, but it's running slow. Um, I guess I'll just kind of start. So,
Yeah.
I'm Lacey Reedy. I am an integrative health practitioner and belief coding facilitator. I wasn't always in this field. In fact, I only got into this field roughly in 2020. I was an engineer prior to that. Um, but yeah, so it's been a journey. That's life, right? Life kind of just comes at you, and I believe that everyone gets a nudge, and even if they miss it that first chance, they get the nudge to um, truly hear their calling and their purpose. And I believe that I've heard it now. So I do believe that engineering was a big part of what I needed to do to get to where I am today. So yeah. But what I do is I work as an integrative health practitioner, and what that is we get into functional medicine stuff. We find root causes of what's going on in the physical body, um, and then also there's a depth to that, but I just want a quick
Yeah.
intro of what I do and supplementation. Lifestyle habits and stuff like that, all very physical stuff. But then we get into the mental and emotional bodies through belief coding. And that's another root causal thing, but it's more so in the mental emotional space, or, spiritual space, or whatever you want to call it. So that's what I do in a nutshell, is we find what things have been trapped in our lives at some point that maybe we don't recognize right now that's holding us back, but we just know we're being held back for some reason. Maybe we can't find the health we want, or the job we want, or the partner we want, or maybe we don't feel like we're the best parent we can be. And that's what I love helping people solve. I love helping them understand what the root cause is to those, what was holding them back.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally understand that. And
That's it in a
you,
nutshell.
yeah, no, that makes total sense. Uh, Before we go into any deeper, what in 2020, what really inspired you to go from one career to the other? Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me okay? Should I get my No,
Not
you're
really.
not able to hear me?
I'm kidding, like a little
That's
bit.
strange. Okay.
No,
I was just wondering.
like it's very choppy, little bit here and there.
Wow, that's so strange. Maybe the
I can
energy.
hear you better right now.
Okay, well, I was wondering what caused you to change careers.
Did you ask me what caused me to change careers?
Yeah,
I think that's what you asked. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Whew. There was, this is going to be an interesting live. Um, what caused me to change careers? That's a good question. I think it was several years in the making. Um, Hindsight being what it is, I realized that I went into that career because I was following really because I was following a path that started with my brother and I wanted to be just like him.
yeah.
And I just kind of followed a path that wasn't necessarily mine to follow. But again, I don't take any of it back because I needed to accumulate the experiences that I did in that space. That's where I met my husband, and you know, I'm a very being in the holistic space. I'm very left brained or very like framework, logical, whatever you would call it, masculine, right? The masculine energy. So it's a uniqueness that I gained to be able to be in this space today. But honestly, you know, throughout the course of my career, I was in engineering for 15 years, and I just felt like I was being held back in certain spaces and that I could never get to that next promotion that I wanted. Um, and it likely had a lot to do with me and my beliefs. Um, but it wasn't something that really filled my cup, you know. It wasn't a job I enjoyed, and it was due to a belief that I had. You know, I had learned work isn't necessarily fun, you know, and that was one of those invisible things that was holding me back, because that's just what I believed. So now because I felt like, well, this is what work is
Yeah.
supposed to be like. You know, this is normal to feel like this, to not be really passionate about your work. Yeah. And then it
So
just
you,
it really it got to a point where there was so much overtime where I worked that I was trying to plan our summer vacations, and I had talked to my manager and I was like, you know, when is a good time to really plan some vacations? And he had said, well, you can plan them, just be ready to cancel them last minute. And I'm like, I don't want to live like that anymore. So that was when I finally put in my resignation.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those that you realized at that point that the career that you had initially thought um, was now holding you back. Your because you,
Yeah.
at that point you decided it was holding you back from a lifestyle you intended. I mean, because the career, the life was holding you back from
Yeah,
a
yeah.
different
And
type of life.
also,
From a value
yeah,
that you
exactly.
intended.
And to me, family is,
More
yeah,
important.
yeah, exactly. Sorry if I'm cutting you off. I think you're done talking and then
No,
it's not.
no, you're
But
good.
yeah,
You're good. I
yeah,
was just thinking
family
about
was
it.
it is a huge value of mine.
It and mine as well. And mine as well. So
Right,
that I was just thinking about that because
right.
that kind of goes into our theme for today. Because it goes into that invisible thing that is holding you back.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
basically
absolutely.
maybe you needed to
Yeah,
experience that first career so you could go to the career that you were intending to do for your soul's
hmm,
purpose. So, do you want to talk about some of the things that you now work on that are
Yeah,
the different
absolutely.
things,
Yeah, and
our
honestly
topic?
about
Yeah, that we were going to talk about.
yeah, yeah, and like a yes. And yes, yeah, and about a year or 2 prior to, actually resigning from the engineering position, I had found it was weird, it was like I had a fiery passion that I didn't realize I had prior to that when I joined, hands with a company that it's kind of like a supplementation thing, and I enjoyed really speaking about it. I got really fired up when I would start talking and people are like, wow, this is, so it was the combination of both, right? It was realizing that there was something there that I didn't know existed and finally finding it and then realizing that, there's this old thing that I was pursuing that wasn't filling my cup, so to speak, right? Or my soul, really. And so it was the combination of both. But yeah, when it comes to just being in that space, like you were saying about the value of family, that's a very important aspect of me, my family, what I do. I love helping people find, like at one point in my parenthood, I was the parent that yelled, and I think a lot of people can relate to that, especially
Mhm.
right,
Yeah.
especially when we're like under the gun, when we have to get out of the house or something, and it's just like I can imagine, just the yelling that I used to do. It was pretty loud, and I can imagine scary for my children, and I read this thing one day and it said, I don't even remember exactly what it said, but it said something about, okay, when when your kids are young and there's spilled milk, and if you come down on them hard for that, they're going to remember that when they're, say, older and at the age of, 16 or whatever, 17, 18, and maybe they go to a party and maybe they don't make the best choice and they have something to drink, right? Would you rather them call you and feel okay calling you, or would you rather them drive home, right? And at that point in my life, I said, I want to be the parent that they call and say, you know what, my mom's going to be here for me, even though I feel like I made a mistake. And so at that point, I made the decision that I don't want to yell at them over little things, because they're going to remember that. They're going to remember when we all make mistakes. We're human, right? So we can't get away from that. So the best thing we can do as a parent is just love them where they're at. And of course, there's lessons that they're going to learn along the way. And we're going to get mad, obviously. But that one really hit home with me. And that piece right there really changed how I parent. And it wasn't an instant overnight flip for me, though. Like you make the decision
Yeah.
and you work through it. And at that point, I didn't understand subconscious work like I do now. It is a much quicker process, because what it is you can go back and visit that time in your childhood where that emotion of ours that keeps coming out, right? It got trapped. And so that's why when we experience something maybe similar in our future or in our present now, that's why we get triggered so quickly, right? Like we know consciously, we're like, why am I so mad that my kid spilled water? Like it's water,
Yeah.
lovable, right? But then what it is it's the invisible thing, right, that happened that we don't remember. And that's where I found subconscious work to really, it's really powerful in that space, because it helps you find those things and resolve them, and you can move forward in a different light. And we can get into like the reticular activating system. It's this system where we say we want to buy a red Mustang, right? And we start like looking online and stuff like that. But then every time we go out, we see a red Mustang on the road. That's your reticular activating system. It's looking for what you're putting your focus on, right? So when we have a belief, whether it's positive or more to the negative side, our mind is going to look for experiences that are similar just because it's kind of comfortable. It's familiar. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So we're going to be looking for that type of thing. And that, again, when there's a trapped emotion, it's going to have a negative belief attached to it. So that, you know, after some time, with the subconscious, we can do a lot of cool stuff. And it's been neat just digging into that and understanding it better.
Oh yeah, it's amazing because there's so many different things connected to the first 7 years of our life, or even past lives, or different aspects. And so when we choose to heal those different things, it's amazing how it affects things in the now. And
Right.
when so it's just it creates so much healing. It creates so much healing. What
Right.
so
Right.
when we go back to invisible things that are holding us back. So because I'm
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
to stay on there. There's so many different
Right.
aspects
Right.
of that. So we what
Yeah.
what are the things that you have found to be the the most difficult
Yeah.
things to hold
Um,
that are holding back?
yeah. The difficult things are the things that I can't see. Right.
Well, the
When
most
I
difficult
consciously
things,
know.
yeah, I'm thinking about the most difficult things that to heal on a subconscious
Mm,
level. Because there's
mm,
some things that are really easy to release. And then there's
hmm.
some things that we have to take time to go back over and over and over and heal on a subconscious level. And there's some,
Yeah.
and and some people will be like, oh, I've had to do so many of these healing sessions. Why
Mhm.
is that the case? Well,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not because the healing session isn't successful. It's because there's a lot of healing to be done on a subconscious level there, and
Yeah.
it might not be, you can go with multiple different types of healers to do that, or you can choose one. It doesn't matter. It's connecting in and getting down to that really deep level to get there. So have you noticed which ones on a yourself, I mean, whether it's personally or with other people, which ones those are for you that
Yeah.
are more difficult um, to release?
Right. Right. Okay. So this is something I learned as I was going through my belief coding school, is that some people are resistant to whatever it is that they're looking to heal, and they don't realize it. So
Hmm.
that's been an important aspect of what I include now. I always ask if there is resistance to releasing whatever this pain is, where prior to understanding that, maybe it felt like sometimes there was just a little bit of progress, but not as much as you would think, and it's because of that resistance. So that's been a big one. A lot of times we don't realize we're resistant to it because we want to change it, we just can't. Another
That's
thing, just like you were talking about.
That's very
Oh,
true. I've experienced that with
yeah.
multiple people that you think
Yeah.
that they're going to go in and they'll just, you know,
Mhm.
where,
Right.
but, because other people have, or maybe you have, or whatever,
Right.
but they're still on a soul level not ready to release that because maybe on a soul level, they're still learning something from experiencing that. Because we all experience,
Exactly. And that's
when
been a
my,
big piece of.
yeah, when my daughter spills milk, I'll say, that's okay. Accidents happens because what I learned is when we make mistakes, we can learn from our mistakes. So the minor mistakes we can learn from, even the major mistakes we can learn from, but we have to choose on a soul level that we're going to learn from those mistakes. If we're not ready to accept the
Yeah.
the lesson, we're not ready to heal from it
Mm-hmm.
either. So go on. I'm sorry.
Right, right. It's kind of like, oh no, it's okay. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, like with when people are suffering with a like alcoholism or like an addiction, right?
Hmm.
It's kind of like that. And like no one can tell them you got to take care of it now. You know what I mean? Until they are ready to accept that, and that's a big piece of some learning that I had in my process, because I was ready, right? But
Hmm.
not everyone in my family was ready at the same time. So that was a tough one for me, and to even recognize and understand why, because I'm like, we have this powerful thing, this subconscious work, and um, it's tough. But I think what it is everyone hits their rock bottom at a certain point, and it looks very be created by us. I think that that's a divinely led thing or a soul led thing, like you're saying. Hmm. And healing comes in layers, right? It's kind of like an onion, when you think about it. So yeah, sometimes you can't get to the root right away because maybe we repress a memory because our subconscious thinks it's not safe to show us the whole thing. I've gone into a past life where I saw like one thing to begin, um, and then saw more as I went in on separate occasions. And I'm like, oh, I can see why my subconscious thought it wasn't so safe to show me that. But that's the thing, your subconscious, even if it doesn't feel like it, because I know sometimes you don't feel like you can handle all the things, but its job is to keep you safe, and but it'll give you, so yeah, it's sometimes those ones that have been repressed or even past life memories, those are a little bit tougher because I found in my history, my past lives, a lot have been when I died in a past life. So like it's tough to work through it.
Yeah, or if you have something that you do, or if you're not even feeling safe to bring all of that up, a lot of times I'll remember parts of my past life at a time, segments of it. And I don't remember the whole thing
Mm-hmm.
at once. It's just, oh, okay, here's this, and then here's this. And it's
Mm-hmm.
as I heal segments of this life, and then it comes
Mm-hmm.
back, and it's like, okay, I'm ready
Yeah.
for this, I'm ready for that, and then it
Mm-hmm.
comes in. So that makes total sense, because you have to feel confident and secure and comfortable to be prepared to access that healing, that knowledge,
Right.
that wholeness of you again,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
there's so many different layers of that to bring in. And if you're not ready to trust your healing process and say, okay, I feel safe enough to do that, it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to come. And a lot of that,
Right.
it goes back to the very first memories of our life. If we didn't feel safe in the first memories of our life, we have to go back to that aspect and heal that aspect first to go.
Absolutely. And that can happen before you're even born. I've actually
It,
gone to the womb many, many times. you know,
exactly.
and it's something that I may have absorbed while I was, in utero, or just felt myself. And that's also part of those invisible things, is I don't think we realize we can absorb emotions from other people. Now, when you think of empaths, of course, right, that would make sense. Um, but I really do think you can inherit these trapped emotions. You can absorb them. They can come from generational things. Like I've had to go in and personally heal certain things from even like grandparents level
Mhm.
stuff. Um, because it's a generational wound, and yeah, it's kind of neat. But you're right, there is a soul level thing that has to happen, and trust is a big one. Um, there are all different levels of trust when it comes to, and that's probably one of the biggest first things you need to overcome, I would think, in terms of even just getting into that journey, is starting learning how to retrust yourself, because we learn over time to not trust ourselves in certain aspects. So it's yeah, relearning those things.
It's a correlation of inner love. Because
Yes.
when we start to trust, when we start to love ourselves, we start to say that we are of value enough to trust
Yeah.
ourselves in
Right.
saying, okay, what we feel matters enough,
Mm-hmm.
because there's been so many maybe years or generations or whatever that we have discounted what we felt,
Oh
and
yeah.
whether it's been society or a belief system or whatever that has pushed
Mm-hmm.
that away. So we get to bring that back in and
Yeah.
feel what that is.
Yeah. Almost
So
validate ourselves.
exactly, and say that we're
Yeah.
worthy of whatever that feeling is and
Right.
heal
And it's
it.
okay to, yeah. And so that's a big one. We repress a lot. We were taught a lot as children to repress, like, oh, you're okay. Don't sweat the small stuff kind of stuff. Right. But
You don't have
repression
to
is a
cry
big one.
anymore, you don't have to feel
Right.
this,
Right.
or
Oh, you're too
you know, and
sensitive.
exactly.
Right.
That happens in their toddler years.
Oh,
Sometimes
yeah.
before we're ever even of speech age.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
And
so we are being hypnotized to do this before we're ever even of able to speak.
right.
So a lot of
Right.
those toddler temper tantrums are really children learning to suppress their feelings.
Yeah. Yeah. I that you were telling me about a book, I'll show you this Healing Your Wounds book. Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
that's very profound. That's a
I can't put
very
it down.
profound
It's
book.
so good. And they were talking about that in the book, and I was like, wow, that is so true. And here we are trying, as parents, we're like, oh my gosh, my kid's making this big deal in the store, and I just got to get them out. And it's hard as a parent to manage that.
Well, and really what that is we're being subjected to the belief systems. We're looking at everyone else looking at us, and we're thinking, oh my
Yes,
gosh, they're thinking this about
they're
us and our
judging me.
parenting. And we're worried about all those labels, those
Yeah,
ideas of everyone else, and not thinking about how does our child feel in their heart space right now. you know,
exactly.
because
Exactly.
yeah, and so that's it,
Yeah. And
and
when we're
because we're
focused on,
conditioned. We're conditioned.
right. Exactly. And that's the thing. We don't stop to think in that moment, what am I thinking? You know what I mean? That's been a big aspect of my life, is saying, okay, what was I just thinking? Because it happens so fast, you don't even realize what's going on, but you realize I'm triggered for some reason. And I think that it's just this experience, right? Where
Mhm.
it's a re-triggering of something old a lot of times, that just hasn't been healed in that aspect of us. And I think a lot of us as parents have whatever that one was. I don't remember which one that was. um, but yeah, it's, I guess, the judgment or humiliation,
Yeah, I
maybe.
think that would probably be
Judgmental
I'm thinking
or
that would be
rejection.
judgment. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Some of them combine and
they
they
do.
overlap,
Yeah,
because
they
it's
do.
not just one um, core wound,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
that begets to be very complicated when we're healing them. But
Right. Yeah, because you need to know which one it is in order to heal it, right? At least that's my perspective of it. I mean, there are different
yeah,
methods, like you said, there's different practitioners that go about it different ways. For me, I want to understand why, because that, to me, when we understand the lesson we needed to learn in that moment, that's what frees our subconscious. It helps free it, and it can make it I don't know. To me, that's very healing. But everyone has different approaches too, and that's why you gravitate more towards one practitioner versus another. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and the different practitioners also, you're going to gravitate towards them because they're going to be part of your soul connection.
Absolutely.
They're going to be working on it because they're the way they approach things is going to be similar to your way of approaching things. And that's why it's
Exactly.
completely okay to go to different ones or to go to one that just totally aligns with you because
Yeah,
that's how it's supposed to be. And it shouldn't
absolutely.
be, it shouldn't, there shouldn't be any sort of upset in that
Yeah,
because
like
it's
animosity or whatever. Yeah, it's
judgment or anything like that because
exactly
it's all part of as long as we're all healing, we're
right.
all in it
That's what
together,
matters.
as
Exactly.
long as that's what it's all about. So
Yeah.
showing
Hmm.
you know and as long as the intentions, the core intentions are about the
Right.
same,
Hmm.
we're
Love.
all doing the same work. We're all doing the
Yeah.
same amazing work, and we're all
Right.
in it together. We're all one. We're all unity.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's essentially we're all part of the same divine circle.
Right. Exactly. And that's the cool thing about it is what resonates, you know what I mean? But that was part of my process too, was learning what resonates, because I didn't trust myself for a long time. And so I tried a lot of different things, so I used to have high functioning anxiety. And in my journey, I was like, oh, well, these supplements help this person, they should help me. No. you know, that's why each journey is unique to the individual, is because their soul has a path, and we need to listen to those nudges, um, to maybe one, get us on that path, and to two, keep on that path and understand when there's a right turn, that's a normal thing. It's kind of like a
Yeah,
roller coaster ride.
because we're very similar to plants. One plant will need a little salt, one needs a little more
Hmm.
sun. We
Right.
all need little different adjustments, but
That's cool.
we all grow beautifully,
Right.
and
Right.
the more I spend time meditating, the more I can see similarities between us and
That's
plants.
cool. That's really
So,
neat, actually, when you think about it. That's a really good perspective. Thank you for sharing that.
yes.
That's
So,
really good.
um, what is your favorite way to release these things that are holding you back?
Yeah. So I like to try to dig to the root as soon as possible, right? And of course, that is determinant on the subconscious itself, and where that soul is on that path. But yeah, I personally work. Well, I don't know if I can even call it belief coding anymore, because I've kind of made my own modality, I guess.
I think
um,
that's beautiful
yeah,
because the
yeah. I
more
just started.
we work, I mean, because I'm always kind of tweaking my own stuff too. So when you make
Yeah,
it your own, I think that it becomes almost more powerful.
right,
So
right,
go on,
exactly.
sorry.
And
It's
you're right,
yeah,
because even when I first started in belief coding, because it was someone else's process, I always was second guessing myself, right? Where now I'm like, no, you need these things, and I feel more sure about it. I trust myself because it's something I made, and based on my own experiences, and I've trialed them on my family and friends and stuff like that, and it's been really cool. And I've actually gotten into the space of shame recently, and we can really tap into that. And again, that's kind of one of those hidden things that everyone has but doesn't want to talk about it, because it's shameful to talk about our shame. um, but it made sense to me as to why. So I always, ever since I heard about Brene Brown, I just loved her. And now I understand why. It's because she talks about shame, and I recognized that I needed to tap into some of her knowledge, some of her research to utilize in my own practice. And yeah, the shame piece has been, I think what you asked was what's your favorite piece to help people, or favorite route to do it. I like tapping into the shame space because in my own life, and I found that I think a lot of people struggle with this, is we say I'm not good enough. And it's that one hurts. That one hurts to the core. And that to me, I felt was the deepest pain you can feel, is when you feel there's something wrong with you, that you can't be accepted in a family, in a community. And so I really honed in on that with my newer modality. Again, I use components of belief coding, but what it is
Yeah.
we take you back to the past when that shame was first trapped. Within that aspect, we go into like body image, parenting, family of origin, all of these types of things. And we go into there, find the first root of where this shame was trapped in that space of life. And then we release it. We understand the lesson, and then we go and we release it, and then we bring in the big components that I've added in. Is we bring in forgiveness. If there's anyone else in that memory, we need to bring in forgiveness. Forgiveness of self is huge.
Yeah.
And I bring them into a space where they kind of see their future self, and after this session, this is what your future is going to look like. So we kind of imagine forward what that's going to look like, and it's so far been very powerful with everyone I've tried it with, and even myself. And it's been cool. So
That is cool. Yeah,
yeah,
there's certain just like there's the core wounds, there's certain
right,
like feelings that
yeah,
feel that are, and it's like shame, regret,
mm-hmm,
anger, fear,
mm-hmm,
rejection, judgment, abandonment. These are
mm-hmm,
like really those certain ones are like those inability to trust or lack of
right,
trust. Yeah, certain ones are really those connection, or I don't know, it's like vibrations
oh
in
yeah,
our
yeah, yeah,
body that we those are the ones that we connect with on a really core level, but those are the ones that we've had for a long time or since we were
yeah,
really young. And when we
mm-hmm,
can heal those and release those,
yeah,
they are so powerful because
mm-hmm,
they affect us on a cellular level. You know,
yeah,
the shame, I connected that with multi levels of generations. Like I went back when I
mm-hmm,
healed that several years ago in quantum, it went back to the Trail of Tears.
wow,
And I, yeah,
wow,
because I could feel the shame of being being rejected, pushed
right,
for and having to leave my land, and or
mm-hmm,
having to go and seeing my family and my tribe sick,
mm-hmm,
and everyone die in front of me. And it was
yeah,
very, very it was terrible, but I
right,
but I could see all of that, and I didn't even know that I had, I mean, I have
right,
Native American relative,
uh, DNA genetics.
DNA and whatever genetics on all these different sides of my family, but I didn't know that I was even connected with the Trail of Tears
Yeah,
until we did this quantum healing, and then
yeah,
I couldn't forget it. I just couldn't
right,
ever forget it ever again,
right.
and it was just so that was just so profound.
Powerful. Yeah, and that's another
Yeah,
invisible thing, right? Because you wouldn't have, if we're
I-
just looking in just what we know and what we remember, right? Most of the big traumas in our lives probably going to be repressed, right? I know I repressed something from when I was 2 that I had no clue about, even one. And even beyond that, right? There's the past lives, there's the generational things that we have no conscious thought about, and that's invisible to us. So how can we really heal at that root when we're not really hitting it at the root? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, in my childhood, I would get teased for what I would wear and how I would look, and I would just be so mortified by it. Well, it went all the way back to the Trail of
Ooh,
Tears.
wow.
And I didn't understand that until I did the quantum healing, why I
Hmm.
felt such shame for that. And
Right.
it all
Right.
went back to that. And so when
Yeah.
I healed that, it was gone.
Wow.
I am
How
no
powerful.
longer shameful for what I look like or how I wear or what I do.
Right.
And the people who condemn me for that are not my people.
Right.
And
Right.
so,
And even
that changed that whole dynamic. So when we
hmm
can do that healing, it is so profound. It not only affects us now, it changes all of it. So we are
yeah,
so much more powerful than we can, you know,
even
that's
imagine.
even imagine. So the people who
Right.
come to you and the work you are doing is extremely profound.
Thank you. You are too. You do some
Well, I know,
amazing
but
work.
I intend for you to see how
Thank you.
powerful you are by the work you are doing,
Thank you. Thank you.
because this is extremely powerful, and
Yeah.
and what you can, um, the space you're holding for other people, for them to be able to do this
Thank
is.
you. Yeah. And just like a true healer, right? We're not doing the healing. We're just holding the space and sharing our expertise that helps them, helps guide them to, okay, this is maybe the root, right? Let's dig into that space, and it's, yeah, it's amazing to be able to hold that space and just at the end of a session. I'm thinking of a couple, one my husband, one my one son, and just the number one, you have a great connection after that healing, like with that person, because it's a whole different level of emotional connection, right? For them to be able to share things with you that they don't share with everyone. But then to see the shift in them and their face, like they have a weight. My husband had said the other day, he's like, I didn't realize, but I had such a weight in my chest and I feel so much lighter now, and it's like when you're trying to help people understand these things from a business perspective, you're like, you're going to feel lighter. Like they don't
Yeah.
understand that. You know what I mean? Like what we do is hard to explain. And it's really just seeing, to me, I just love seeing their faces at the end of a session and they're just like, wow, I feel so much lighter. I feel very different. I feel so much happier. It's a sense of freedom, I think, that people have, that's really cool. And I know I get that freedom when I do my own. And yeah, it's really cool. And to see someone have that strength to work through that themselves, right? Yes, we're guiding, but they're doing the work. And God and source, whatever you want to call, based on your belief system. But yeah, there's something really cool to that.
Yeah, the whole energy of it, and to see it, there's been times when I can see it, the whole, you can see their
Sure.
face different, you can
Right.
see that, you can feel the energy different, and that
Mm-hmm.
to me, is more rewarding than any financial
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
that is, it's like, I know why I'm here, because
Mhm.
this is, the energy difference is,
It's changing someone's life. you
yeah.
know, it's
and
making it
but
better.
because it changes their life, it changes all the people around them, and
Yes.
the effect that has,
Or the
it's,
ripple.
when you say something to someone, it affects not only them, but everyone across the whole galaxy,
Yeah.
energetically. And
Hmm.
so knowing that we are, as a whole, as a unity, changing the whole quantum. We are
Right.
changing the whole energy of everything. And so, as a unity, we are creating a whole difference in the whole energy of everything. One by one, we are coming together and changing the whole dynamics of this peridium. And
Yeah.
this is that's why divine unity is such a powerful thing.
And each person along their journey, everyone that's choosing to grow, they're they're all within that unity. You know what I mean? They're all, and yeah, like you said, even like after my session with my husband, he was like, there was an instance with our kids. He's like, I probably would have been mad before our session on that one. And I'm
Mhm.
like, cool. He's like, it was way easier to, it didn't upset him. And I remember I do that too. I realized, hey, I would have reacted a bit differently. Um, and really you can do it one thing at a time. Sometimes you have major shifts, sometimes you have little shifts, but all of them are worthwhile, you know?
Yeah. And
So,
how it changes and shifts your feelings in your life on a daily basis
yeah,
is tremendous. I mean, I
yeah.
look at my life a year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago and
Mhm.
now, and my children, my husband, my friends, anyone you talk to who knew me, is going to tell you that there is a complete difference in me and my life. So
Right, right.
there's no way you can't see that.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and for that to affect my life and to affect other people's life, it's just so amazing how we can all be coming together making this difference.
Right.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah. And when we can love ourselves more, we have the capacity to love others more, right? That
So
was a
much.
big finding that I had where it was just like I know a lot of times as a mom, I'd be like, "Oh, I can't go out. I can't do this thing for myself because I'm taking away time from family life." Where really until I started filling my own cup on a daily basis, I was just going to stay stuck in that cycle. And I think a lot of us do that. We feel guilty for doing the thing for us. For me, I was felt guilty just going to yoga. And then I told my husband, I'm like, please force me to do this because I need to do it. And I did it. And it just that aspect helped me a ton, and it was really just overcoming that hurdle of the excuses I would make. And it didn't feel like excuses at the time. It felt very real. That was my perspective. I'm being selfish for taking time for myself rather than being with the family. But really, I didn't have the love for myself at that point to be able to share with my family. And so now that capacity has grown much greater. I'm excited to see how much more it can grow. You know what I mean? I feel like there is really no end to it. But like you said, you can see as a parent how you can change your child's life. You know what I mean? A big part of me also getting into what I did, what was my own anxiety healing journey, but also I started noticing symptoms in my oldest son, and I'm like, I feel like he's going to have anxiety, and like that was a big fear of mine. There's guilt in that. There's and so I was like, I got to figure this out so I can help him. And then the good thing is I didn't realize I was, you know what I mean, helping myself to really help him, where I'm more, when I love myself more as my authentic self, I can allow others to be authentic too and love themselves, right?
Oh yeah, that's how
Yeah,
my journey started. I
that's
mean,
cool.
before I had my strokes, before all that stuff happened,
Hmm.
my children were in distress because I didn't know
Hmm.
how to love myself. I was a single mom and I was constantly doing for them because it
Mhm.
was just a way to stay afloat. But I
Yeah.
didn't know how to love myself because I mean, honestly, the women in my family don't didn't
Right.
ever learn to love them. And
Right.
so
Right.
I had never, that was just never
You didn't learn it.
shown to me.
Yeah.
And so I, it wasn't in, and I had had therapy. I'd had therapy since I was a little girl.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you how many therapists would ask me, Christina, do you love yourself? And I would
Oh.
say, oh yeah, I'm sure, whatever,
Right.
I
Sure,
would just
whatever,
push
yeah.
that aside. But,
Right.
and then it wasn't until I started doing things for myself, like doing
Mhm.
Reiki, doing things that I
Right.
started realizing it's not there.
Yeah.
There's no
Right.
boundaries, nothing's there. And
Right.
so I started to put that energy in there,
Mhm.
realizing, I had a lot of pain there. I had a lot of stuff going on, and I started healing that. And
Yeah.
as I started doing that, it started feeling better and better. And then I realized,
Mhm.
wow, this is something I get to do, you know,
Right.
and the more I started filling my cup, the more my life improved. It
Right.
just
And
naturally improved.
yeah, I think in general we repress that side of ourselves because we think we have to give everything to our children, right? And because we aren't taught how to love ourselves. It's not taught in schools. You know what I mean? And a lot of our parents are going on what they learned as children. It's that generational trauma, right? That keeps going, the cycles. And until we learn how to love ourselves as our authentic selves, which means removing fear, guilt, and shame, right?
Well,
um, to some degree, or just saying
no,
yes,
no, all of it.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And with that fear, guilt, and shame comes the labels, comes all of those
right,
um, worrying about what other people think and coming into ourself. And so then we're not concerned about what those people at the store are worried about. We're looking
right,
at our child in the heart space, and
right,
we stop worrying about all of those, the judgment, the all
right.
that stuff. And maybe that isn't always what
Natural.
it's not natural for the belief systems, but I mean,
Correct.
maybe that's not always been what other people that's on their agenda, because
Exactly.
there's
Exactly.
when we go into our heart space, then we're connected with us and our soul
Mhm.
and what's
Yeah.
aligned for us. And
Yeah.
when we go into other, when we're working with other people's belief systems, then we're following what the norm
Oh
follows,
yeah. Societal
and
norm.
so exactly. And so when we can follow what is in total alignment with our soul, then we will be happy. We will be in connection with what's, and
Exactly.
that's where our children will be happy.
Yeah.
That's what goes with.
We give them the space to be themselves, right? Rather than who we think they need to be based on our belief system, our conditioning, right? So when a child feels more free to be themselves, it's different. I've seen a bit of a change even in our own kids, right? So it's like, and it starts, to me, it starts with the parents because the kids aren't going to learn it otherwise. It needs to be taught in homes, and that's been my biggest draw lately is getting into the family space and helping people understand that it starts with us at home, and but yeah, there's so much to just, again, it's allowing people the space, which is just what we do in the healing space. um but teaching parents to do that as well for themselves and for their children, right? Again, it needs to start with ourselves, is what I found.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree because when the parent does it, then it's easier for the child to do it. It's
Right.
much
Well,
easier for the
they're
child.
little parents, right? They, I
Yeah.
mean, no matter what we're doing as parents, our children are gonna do something similar, or if it's something they absolutely hate, they'll do something the opposite, right? When they get to be parents. And but again, that's still conscious level stuff. Um, where when we recognize what the unconscious is really thinking about and focusing on, that's where we can really make some big changes in life, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think
Yeah.
a lot of it, even like the first even unconscious things, there's a lot
Hmm.
of things that the children are following that are unconscious from the parents. So
Yeah.
when the parents start working on a heart-centered basis and
Hmm.
releasing those things, then it's naturally going to happen with the children. Children
Yeah.
are in when they are born, their thymus and their upper heart, their heart chakra, they're in total alignment.
Yeah.
They only really, stop being in total alignment when all those belief systems and societies start
Hmm.
to come in. So
Right.
if we can hold alignment, they will stay in alignment. So that's
Exactly.
why the next couple generations that come in, as we start to activate alignment, they're going to be in alignment and be in this new earth.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
they're going,
Exactly. Exactly. And when you
yeah.
think about it from the flip side, right? That's why my belief is that that's why I see. I mean, isn't it our kids' generation that's supposed to outlive us or something? No, they're not supposed to outlive us. That terrifies me. So I believe that our children are getting more and more sick because one, there's a lot of toxicity in the foods, with all of the pesticides and the water, the air quality, all of that type of stuff. But also, we're passing down generations of trauma that we have not processed.
Well, when it comes to stuff like that,
Yeah.
any any sort of negative
Right.
stuff, I don't focus on, because
Right.
in the quantum, whatever you focus on is
Right.
what so
Right.
if you choose if you see your children living past you, then that is
Hmm.
what you see.
That's what will happen.
That's what's going to
Right.
happen, because
Right.
you're the
Right.
creator. You're the creator.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
if there's something that's going to keep that, then you get to work on healing those things to
Right.
create that to happen. We can,
Right.
we can intend for that to happen and work through whatever is keeping that from
Hmm.
from holding that back. But
Yeah.
we are the creator, and if we intend for our children to be healthy individuals
Hmm.
and keep that
You
intention,
really
then that's what's
create
going to
that.
happen. That's what's going to
Exactly.
happen.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
if
That's.
we hold the intention that our children are going to be these sickly kids, then that's what's going to happen.
And they're
But
going to be
I
sick.
intend for
Right.
my children to be happy, healthy individuals. And so we hold this
Exactly.
intention, and then we figure out what would be keeping that from being the case. And then we release
Right.
these,
We remove the hurdle, so to speak, right? Yeah. And
exactly. And
again,
that's
that's
where,
just,
yeah,
yeah,
and
that was
that's
just my
where those invisible,
understanding.
yeah,
Sorry.
that's where those, no, it's okay. That's where those invisible things that are holding us back, like the lack of
Hmm.
trust, those
Yeah.
things in the first 7 years, those are the things we heal to keep
Hmm.
our children healthy and happy. And even our grandchildren that haven't even been born, we can
Hmm.
heal all of them on a cellular level way before they've ever been born. We
Right.
can do um, ge- we can do healing, so everything it's a healthier dynamic when once
Hmm.
they've been born. And
Yeah.
that's what I see is a uh, new earth where everything comes in healthier and stronger and happier and brighter,
Yeah.
because that is the intention, and we are the creator.
Yes. And I love that. I love that. That's my, you know, going forward, that's my belief as well, is that once we can process these things, we're going to be in a much better position moving forward, and our kids will be much happier, much healthier, and it'll be the more natural way for things to be going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What came into me recently is, because I always get new downloads from Atlantis,
Mm-hmm.
as that Diana Cooper was the great grandma. Uh, she was like a great grandma in Atlantis,
Okay.
and so I can feel her energy in Atlantean timeline, and that's why she knows all this stuff now. I can feel
Oh,
her,
interesting.
yeah, it's very interesting. And because I was like, because I can feel who she was in Atlantis.
Yeah,
That came,
that's neat.
different people's names are now coming in for me,
Really,
like their names
that's
in
really cool.
Atlantis, who they were, their
Wow.
roles. And that's just came in this last, I don't know, 3 to 6 months in the last,
Okay.
and and she's come in and she's so beautiful. She's so beautiful
Aw.
there. I mean, she's beautiful here, but she was beautiful there. And and all the codes that come with her. She's just like this
Oh,
beautiful
neat.
flower. Yes. She was
That
this
is so
beautiful,
cool.
yes. And I can see
Yeah.
her pyramid and everything there. So,
Oh, wow.
but I can feel all the energy and the codes that come with her. And I mean, I can feel my own energy and stuff, but I can feel
Right.
hers. And I could feel David's, I could feel Tim's, I can feel all these different people and who they were in Atlantis. And I mean, I can feel my sisters, I can feel all these different people. It's so cool.
That's
And,
neat.
and what they looked like, even like what
Yeah.
color hair they had,
Wow.
and stuff. Because most of the people in Atlantis had red hair.
Really?
Yes,
That's interesting.
we were mostly red haired. But anyways, I there was a reason I'm bringing this in, and so the codes, all these codes are coming in at this.
Yeah.
We're coming in during Lionsgate. I usually get codes
Okay.
about Atlantis during Lionsgate. They
Okay.
always give me codes about Atlantis during Lionsgate.
Okay. That's
And
neat.
so these were coming in just in the last couple weeks ago, whatever.
Yeah.
And they were telling me about her. It was so beautiful. But
That's really neat.
they were sharing. Oh, I know why. Because we were talking where they were telling me about the new Earth and the
Okay.
children of the new Earth, and we
Oh,
should be done by 2032 for New Earth.
really?
But it feels like I keep being told that we're early. We're going
Okay.
to be a little early. Yes,
Okay.
we're working hard.
Okay. So at that point,
So,
that's when the majority
new
of the
Earth.
healing will be done
Yeah, that
through
will be a new
parents and
Earth.
children.
But I
Okay.
keep feeling that we're going to be a little bit on we're a little ahead of time. We're working hard.
Okay.
We're as a divine union, we're working hard,
Yeah,
and
that's neat.
and yeah, it
It's
feels like
funny.
we might be a year or two ahead uh,
Okay. It's
of
funny
of
because I can tell who's getting that calling to heal. Like things are kind of kind of fall apart in lives before they when they're getting
they
that
get
calling.
together.
It's like, well, you've got a choice. You want to do something different or do the same thing you've always done, right? Um,
With me, I was told I
yeah,
either heal or I die.
yeah, right,
I mean, you
right,
die and you are reincarnated, or you heal, and
right.
that was my choice. I sat there in the ICU. I sat there in the ICU, and I got to decide.
Wow. Isn't that it's well, that's the thing, right? With the reincarnation, you're gonna still have to learn the lesson anyway. So it's like,
Yeah,
yes.
you
That's
know,
where I'm like, I don't know if I want to do it. Like,
Like,
if that
I
is
don't
a
want to go
thing,
through this
I
again. I'm
don't
just
have to
gonna
come back. Yeah, I don't
I'm
have to
just
do
gonna
this all
push
again.
through it.
Right?
I'm gonna push
Just
through
okay.
it.
Let's figure out everything that could possibly need healing and just heal that. That's where I'm at.
Yep, I'm just gonna get it done.
Right,
Get
right.
it
Because
over
every
with.
time you heal an aspect of a wound or an aspect of ourselves that's conditioned, right? You feel so much better. It's hard to describe, but it's amazing. And it's the thing is, it doesn't. I mean, it does change your situation because as you raise vibrations, right? You're dropping off those lower vibrations and adding in higher vibrations. So you're attracting different people in different circumstances. Um, I don't remember where I was going with that, but that's very interesting. The way that that works.
What they show me is it looks like, well, I mean, some of it is hooks, but some of it looks like slivers. It's literally
Oh,
like
okay.
slivers to
Yeah.
to the soul. And so as
Okay.
you raise your
Makes sense.
vibration, the slivers drop out.
Okay.
I mean, so you can do activations, you can do healing sessions, stuff like that,
Right.
that will release it because you're showing your
Mhm.
subconscious that you're ready. Or you can do
Yeah.
things like go in nature, get so happy,
Mhm.
whatever, that it goes up so
Yeah.
high that they just don't align anymore and the slippers just go and drop out.
They just fall right out. Huh.
Yeah, but
That's neat.
you either raise your vibration enough where they fall out, or you activate and they fall out. But either way,
Oh, okay.
you have to raise your vibration. You go lower, and they go and people or energies or situations, whatever. You have situ- you'll have holes in your energy because you've gotten upset or things have
Mhm.
happened, and then they go and they
Mhm.
attach to your energy, and that's where you feel like you're having bad days, and
Mhm.
you're just that's where those slivers have come and hooked in.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
people start to drag on your energy, that's a hook.
Mhm. Yeah.
So there's different
And
types of different ones. So I'll do an activation, I can see them in people. I
oh,
can
that's
literally
neat.
see them. I didn't
Yeah.
used to, but I got to a point where I can
Right.
now see all the
Yeah.
different I'll do especially when I call my team in,
Right.
they'll
Mhm.
assist me so I can see everyone's, and then we can release it all.
Things that need healing. Yeah.
Yeah, because we're asking for their assistance, and then we just release it all and we
Yeah.
go on our way. but
That's really
but
cool.
that's basically what we're doing is we're releasing through all the chakras
Mhm.
to so our vibration is higher, or it's our true vibration, and it's
Right.
not other people's holding us.
Yeah, yeah. I heard something the other day like we have our authentic vibration. It's always within us. It's just a matter
Mhm.
of, I guess, removing those slivers so that we can get back to that vibration, that authentic vibration. And
And
that was kind of like profound. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. It's not that we're trying to achieve this vibration that, it's always been within us. We just need to remove the things that are keeping us from really
yeah,
living at that vibration.
and like those belief systems, other things like
Mhm.
that, those are going to be those slivers too.
Oh
So,
yeah.
like, you spend a lot of time with your best friend, you start talking like them,
Hmm.
that's a sliver,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you've got a, it's not exactly a belief system, but it's a connection. You're an energy connection so much that
yeah,
you're acting like them,
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
you
Yeah, when
know.
you start hanging out with people that gossip, it's going to be easy to
And
fall into
you
that
start
line.
gossiping, and the
Right.
next thing you know, yeah, you've lowered your vibrational level to them.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a
So
whole different thing too.
yeah,
That's
so
kind of neat.
that's why like those activation events are really helpful, whether
Mhm.
because you release all of those belief systems, all of
Right.
those things that other people, and you get it. I mean, when I first started quantum, oh my gosh, I would do a quantum session, and then I would like And then I'd be like, oh my gosh, I got some attachments. Please help me. I talk to my master. He'd be like,
Right.
what'd you do? And we'd go into the quantum session and they'd be like, you went to the grocery store. I went to the grocery store and I'd be getting, attachments and
Right.
stuff. You know, you can get them anywhere. You can,
It's, yeah.
I mean, you could get it. And he would be like, how did you get these things? I wouldn't even
Right.
have gotten barely, upset or anything. It's just,
Right.
you can be a really bright light and people, they'll be lower and they'll, so
They'll
you
kind of
also
attract
have
you like
one of,
bugs.
one of the things I have really learned is how to, um, shield. And those are the
Mm-hmm.
things that I work on
That's
in
a
the
big
light
one.
worker courses, how to protect
Yeah.
and shield and all that stuff, because
Yeah.
some of that stuff is just people saying, oh, you look pretty comfortable, I think I'm going to go and attach onto you.
Right.
So
Well,
it's
that's
just
another
some of that
invisible
stuff.
thing.
What?
That's another invisible thing that isn't really talked about much, right? The
Ex-
spiritual warfare piece of it, where it's like it's invisible, literally. So unless you can see it, if you have, clear, any of those psychic kind of abilities, but like we don't talk about that, but that is something you do need to protect against, because like you said, you can go to the store and get attachments and not even realize, whenever I feel my energy is a little bit lower than normal, I'm like, okay, I need to do some healing because there's something going on, something bringing me down.
Well, yeah, if you're feeling tired, really tired all
Hmm.
of a sudden, or really ornery, or, starting to have pains in your body, there's all these different signs. Then all of a sudden, yeah, it's like, oh, maybe you need to go and release or do a
Really,
meditation or, you know,
right,
uh,
right.
yeah,
Or whatever that
because
is to you, right? Again, like everyone's healing journey is different. So maybe it's just getting out in nature, and
exactly. Or
thinking,
just getting really, doing something that really makes you happy, because that alone
yeah,
is going to raise your vibration really
oh
high.
yeah,
For
yeah,
me, I love to go out in nature and, go on a nature walk or spend time in my garden, but someone else might hate gardening and that would just not
right.
be their thing.
That
You
was
hate
not mine.
gardening, don't go gardening,
Right.
that would
I'll
just
do the
not
beach
be a good
or
idea.
I'll put my feet
So
in the dirt.
yeah,
I don't
don't
want
do
to
it.
garden.
Whatever you do, don't garden if you hate it.
Right?
You know, so
There's
it
that word,
really,
the word should comes in, right? Where it's like, well, this helps so and so, so I should do it, right? It's like you
yeah,
catch yourself saying should, you probably don't want to. So look at that word when you use it.
yeah, it should be something that you really love to do, that really
Yeah,
makes you
exactly.
happy.
Yeah.
Because there again, you're going with your authentic self. Don't follow the next person just
Right.
because it makes them happy.
Right.
Because
It
so
doesn't work.
that's again tuning into your soul and your heart space
Exactly.
and making decisions based on you, what
Yeah.
connects with you. That's why,
And
those screens where it shows like 20 or 30 different things to raise your vibe, even if
right.
you only find three or one that
Mhm.
aligns with you, go with that. And maybe
Exactly.
none of those things are going to align with you and you need to find
Right.
your own thing.
And
So
and being honest, in the beginning of my journey, I didn't know what I liked. So I almost had to it was almost like a trial and error, like experiment, like what would I like, and go towards what I feel drawn to. And if I didn't like it, don't do any more of that. And if I did like it, add more of that in my life. And I think for so long I repressed what I liked because it was more important for me to go with the flow of what others wanted. You know what I mean? And I think we can get stuck
mhm.
in that trap too. That's a big one where we get to a point where we're like, I don't even know who I am or what I like to do, what my like you kind of drop your hobbies. I know in parenthood, after I became a mother, I kind of dropped all of I used to craft a lot and I dropped all of it. And then you just get so busy and life just stays busy, right? So
Mhm.
it's easy to get caught up in that too, right? I don't even like the word busy because I don't know, I'm trying to eliminate it even though I still say it sometimes, you know what I mean? Um,
Well, Well, even well, if you love to craft, maybe, for a
Yeah.
longer time, I had a little craft room or a craft shed, and I would do
Yeah.
crafts with my kids.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter what I made. It was just the fact that I
Right.
spent time doing that,
Yeah.
because I
Being
loved
creative.
to, paint something or
Yeah.
whatever. And I would use all kinds of like leftover materials, like
Oh
from
yeah.
wherever to do it
Yeah.
with, because it wasn't really about what the project was. It was just about
Right.
spending time with the kids and doing those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all about just taking, a little bit of time, whether it's per day or per week or whatever, and dedicating that to enjoyment and to
Yeah.
what makes the soul happy.
Exactly. Exactly. And we need to do that as parents, and we need to allow that for our children too. Ask what makes you happy, right? And figure out how to make everyone have their little thing that makes them happy. You know what I mean? And when they see that you're making a point of including them in that plan, right? That's a big deal too. And it's, again, it's modeling, it's teaching them it's important to do things that make you happy, you know?
Yeah, yeah, because somehow that's not a high priority in our
Right.
busy
It's
lives
okay,
very
do the
often.
sports. Yeah, we got to get to the sports and do the school stuff and the homework, and it's super easy to get caught up in that. Like right now we're in more extracurriculars than we've probably ever been, but there's the balancing, right? Where it's like, okay, we want to make sure the kids are able to do the things they really want to try, right? Like there's just so
Mhm.
many offerings. So we're like, okay, we have a set boundary. This is how many things you can do in a
Yeah.
semester, all the things, but then also making sure that you have that family time, that time that like my one son, he really wants to get into he wants to try out for a play, and that's
Mhm.
something he loves, singing and dancing and all that kind of stuff. So it's like that's part of his joy, and for me, that was a big thing that I wanted to make sure as a parent that I didn't get caught in, was trying to make sure my kids lived the life that I lived or wanted to live, like softball was a big thing for me, and even like my kids, they started talking a little bit about baseball, and I got excited, but I'm like, okay, we'll get to that. But it's like I wanted to make sure I didn't push them into anything, because that's my life, that's my interest, and I didn't want to say, oh well, you have to play baseball, and they ended up playing it and they love it, so it worked out. But
Yeah.
I also, you know what I mean, as parents, it's easy to say, oh well, I really love this, so maybe you'll love it, and this or that. But it's giving them the freedom to also try something. Like my youngest wants to do basketball now, and I was not good at basketball for as a child, and I really didn't like it. But he wants to try it, and I'm like, do it. I'm trying to encourage him to just try it. If he doesn't like it, then you finish out that season and be done with it. But it's, I don't know. That's another thing to think about as parents.
Yeah, my two older children were really hesitant about getting too involved and stuff.
Yeah,
They were
yeah,
really excellent students, but they didn't really like getting involved in a lot of extracurricular. Whereas
mm-hmm,
my youngest, she is more like your children, where they are like, she wants to get involved in everything.
yeah.
So this year she's really excited because she is going to be doing announcements for school,
Oh,
and she's going
cool.
to be doing a couple other things. So she's really, it's like this is her year. She's going to be doing all kinds of
Yeah,
different things, and it's a
that's
very
cool.
exciting thing for her. She only
Right.
has well, she's going to be in eighth grade, and so she's, it's an
Wow.
exciting thing. I know they grow
Yeah,
so
yeah.
fast. They
They
really truly
do.
do. And so
They do.
part of parenting is enjoying your children, I think. Because they
Exactly.
they before you know it, I mean, I feel like my two older children, they're in their 20s, and I
Yeah.
it's I don't get to see them enough,
Right.
so
Yeah,
I
yeah, and we have
now
to
that
be very careful with our time and our priorities to make sure that we get to cherish the time we do have, because yeah, they will have kind of lives of their own at some point. They'll want to get married or whatever, move out. And as you know, being married yourself, and all these things, like, life gets busy. Life
yeah,
happens, and you don't see your parents as much as you used to. And um but
yeah.
yeah, I think that it's also
Well,
important to have that good solid ground to work on too, as they're young. Again, build that trust relationship, you know.
yeah, well, they're both my two older children are going to college this year, and they work,
Wow.
so they're busy,
Right.
and so and they're
Right.
both in medical profession. They're
Wow.
going
Yeah,
to
they're
school
going to
for
be busy
medical.
for a bit.
So yeah, well, one is in microbiology and the other is radiology. So I
Wow.
they're doing their thing, and it's interesting because
Right.
they're doing more traditional medicine, and I'm
Right.
alternate. My youngest is thinking about going into traditional medicine as well. So
Mhm.
they're taking the other option, they're
Right. Mhm.
and I respect them for
Exactly.
that. They can do that.
Right.
Most of my family has been in traditional medicine.
That's
So
funny.
I'm the
The
well, that's okay though.
unique
Maybe
one.
I
The
need to be
unique one. Well,
there.
right. I'm the
you know?
unique one of the family too, where everyone's mostly traditional, where I'm just kind of like, nah, I'm gonna do my own thing.
Yeah, and that's okay. That there
Exactly.
needs to be a balance. There needs to be other people
Yeah,
out there doing other things, and I respect them
exactly.
for that, and I'm okay with them doing that. I'm proud of them. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just, again, following that passion, that drive that you have inside at a soul level. Um, I think it's hard for kids, again, like for me when I was 18 and people were to ask me what I wanted to be, I'm like, I don't know. It's hard for kids to recognize that,
I was
especially a
yeah.
lot of conditioning.
I always thought I was going to go into architecture. For a long
Okay.
time, I
That's
thought I was going to
neat.
do architecture. I love
Yeah.
architecture. I love interior design. I never thought I was going to get into medicine. I mean, well, when I finished high school, I did do, but that's what I did. I got into, it's always been caregiving. It's always been taking
Mhm.
care. It's been this type of, well, not this type of work, but it's always been in, in some sort of caregiving type field.
Yeah. And that
CNA,
makes sense
I
for
was a
you.
pharmacy tech, and then I switched over. But
Yeah.
I've never really been, so I don't know. It was very interesting. The only thing I did
Good.
other than medical type things was Mary Kay.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
You
I was
know,
into
and
Avon for a bit.
yeah, and still I did that because I liked making people happy. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed
Yeah.
making people happy,
Yeah.
but it wasn't, and it was more about the skincare than the makeup, but I
Right.
loved making
Right.
people happy. And
Yeah.
and then I stopped doing that, and but it was never about anything but to make people happy. I
Yeah.
really
It's really
enjoy
neat.
that aspect.
There's something, and again, that's a soul level thing, right? When you feel good in the position you're in with the gifts that you're given, right? And you follow through with increasing I guess the knowledge base or practice behind those gifts. I really do feel we're drawn to things based on what is going to be our gift. And it's neat that everyone does have a different gift. And I mean, that makes sense, because even when you think of healing, everyone's going to heal in a different way. Everyone's going to have a different gift to give the world, and
Hmm.
that's the beauty of everyone being unique, you know.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Well, it was
Yeah.
really wonderful talking to you today, and I think we
Oh,
could talk
thank
for a
you.
couple more hours, Lacey.
Absolutely.
So
All the
we'll have
time,
to
all
do
the
this
time.
again. Maybe another
Yes.
topic, but again.
Yes, I would love
So
that. Thank you
Many
so much.
blessings. Yes,
Same
and
to
I will,
you.
yeah, we'll talk again soon. Take care.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Christine. I appreciate you. I love you.
Yeah, would you like to put you in your comments how people can get a hold of you?
Oh, sure. Oh, I didn't even see comments.
Um,
Okay.
well, if you can't right now, we can do it. You can do it as soon as you leave if you can't figure it out, right?
Okay. Yeah. It says you got to
Um,
connect to YouTube to join the live chat. I don't know. Sure. Uh-oh.
I'll I will I'll make sure you can put it so you can give people
Okay.
put in the comments so so people can see how to get a hold of you because I
Okay.
want.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay,
Yeah, Sturdy's
wonderful.
going down, so I'm not touching anything anymore.
That's
I'm like,
okay.
oh no, it's getting shut again.
You have a good day, and I'll send that to you so you can do that.